Hello everyone, this is Demon09 and here bringing you another next video. Now, quite recently I have uh, actually rewatched that series. I haven't seen it in a really long time, and it's something to do with my fairy tale list that I have mentioned a long time ago. Oh, and it got me thinking, why didn't I do this list back then? Well, I know BB Retro, like no, not BB Retro, Morgan Ledger, aka the Film Buff, has already done this kind of list before, but I wanted to do this kind of list myself, because I find the series being really interesting. It's Jim Henson's Lost Gem, The Storyteller. Now, this series was broadcast in England and around oh wait, no, my mistake. It was originally broadcast on NBC in 1987, and from May 15th, 1987 to July 10th, 1988, with 13 episodes total, all in 2 seasons. The Storyteller is pretty much a very interesting way to tell classic fairy tale stories. Starring John Hurt as the storyteller in the original 9 episodes, and Michael Gambon in the Greek Myth segment, and co-starring Brian Henson as the storyteller's dog, in both seasons. And, and this show has some really interesting stories to it. One of them I have mentioned in my top detailed list. So without further ado, this is my top 10 episodes of The Storyteller. Let's start at number 10 with The Three Ravens. And now, I didn't really like this story all that much. It felt a little forced. There's a widowed king and his 4 children, 3 sons, 1 daughter, are introduced to a young woman who happens to be a witch, who then marries the king. But seeing the king's children are next in line to claim his crown, she decides to try and get rid of them. Fearing for the safety of the children and the king, and bring them to a secret cottage that's for them to live. That can only be done by using a special ball of yarn. Or somehow the witch manages to get a hold of this ball of yarn and uses it to find the princess and the princess. While the princess gets unscathed, her brothers are turned into ravens. And who make her a promise that In order to break the witch's spell, she must not say a single word for the next 3 years, 3 months, and 3 days. Sounds simple enough. Until her father is poisoned by the queen, the witch. So, being a balance silent for this amount of time, and she's found by a prince who, even though is confused on why she's remaining silent, and takes her back to his kingdom, where his father has recently married is a young woman, and guess who it is? A witch. Apparently, is not happy to see her old enemy seen again, and the princess is still quiet as she wants her brother to return to normal. Now, it isn't too long later that the prince and princess have their first child. The princess does something into the child, and this continues on until the third child goes missing. But after the second time this has occurred, the princess gets so fed up, she digs a hole in the royal garden and screams into the earth, just hoping not to be heard. And when her third child goes missing, the prince has his wife is burned at the stake. And the witch is not too subtle on how happy she is to do it. However, the Raven brothers return, and she sets ablaze herself. Oh boy, Kermit really is a bitch, isn't it? And seeing as the princess kept up her promise for 3 days, 3 months, and 3 years, her brothers return to normal. And they bring her children. Oh, and by the way, there's a little bit of a catch. Seeing as she kind of screamed into the earth and didn't exactly keep her promise all that time, and one of her brothers is cursed to have one wing instead of an arm. Oops. Oh well. On to number 9. Now, I have mentioned this in my Steve Sings Blues review. So, and it's the Greek myth Orpheus and Eurydice, the original Romeo and Juliet, if you will. So, Orpheus is supposed to be this divine and musician, beloved by all in Greek culture. There was his token instrument, the lyre, which is kind of like a harp, in a way. And his fiancee, or wife, I guess, Eurydice, one day a lecherous satyr chases her, and although she escapes into the little goat man, she's poisoned by a viper and dies. Heartbroken, Orpheus has traveled almost to the underworld to see Hades in order to get her back. And as I mentioned in my mythical creatures list, the gates to the underworld are guarded by the three-headed hellhound Cerberus. And although Cerberus This is supposed to be the perfect guard dog. There are ways to get past him, and one of them Orpheus just happens to know. By playing the music on his lyre, he lulls the beast to sleep, allowing him enough time to go past. When he enters the court of Hades and his queen Persephone, it's a different reflex. Yeah, don't worry about it. And Orpheus pleads for the return of his wife. Of course, the Lord of the Dead is not too keen on the idea of allowing a soul to leave. And so Orpheus plays his lyre in such manner that it actually moves. It moves the god to tears. It actually moves the heart of Persephone, who talks him into letting Orpheus have Eurydice back. And Hades allows this on one condition, that he must not turn back to gaze on Eurydice until they have made it back to the surface world. Orpheus agrees, and he and Eurydice go back to the surface world. Anxious to see his beloved again, and eager to have her back, he turns around and she disappears forever. Heartbroken once again and alone, he plays his lyre here in the forest, only to be torn apart by mad wild women. Yeah, musicians, does this seem to ring a bell? Number 8, Fear Not, or The Boy Who Learned Fear. This story I found kind of interesting because it has many different titles, but they're all the same thing. A boy named Fear Not, who is as naive as he is cowardly, in a town where people are afraid of their own shadows. So it decides he wants to learn what fear truly is. And along the way, he meets a tinker who tries to scare him and doesn't work. And along the way, Fear Not encounters all these horrific creatures and beings. Things that would normally scare anybody else, but for some odd reason does not work on him. Like, for example, he comes across a lake monster after he places fiddle in lake. I don't know how that works. And then comes across an abandoned castle where apparently there's some sort of ghost. Who for some odd reason has detachable legs. And although Fear Not gets all these riches and all this fame, he still does not know the meaning of fear. And when he returns to meet his beloved, he finally learns fear when he realizes when he worries that he'll never see her again. Or, yeah, something like that. Although in one version of the story, they learned how to shudder when in cold water was pouring in while I was sleeping. I don't know, this story was weird in a funny kind of way. Much like this next one. At number 7, it's a story short. This one is interesting because it features the storyteller himself. He explains or he tells the tale of how he sort of conned the royal cook uh, into making a soup with just a stone. I think how stupid can you be? Outraged by this, the cook takes him to the king and they have him executed as by boiling in oil. The storyteller talks his way out of the execution by saying that so he can tell all stories. And the king makes him a deal. That I will pay you a golden crown on every day for the next year if you will supply me with stories every night. It everything seems to go fine until the last day when you can't come up with a story. And while all this is going on, uh, the cook is gleefully preparing for the execution. And anxious and frantic, and the storyteller has come up with a story and still can't. It isn't until a beggar makes a deal with him in a game of cards. And after losing all his money and his wife, the storyteller finally bets his life, is himself, and loses. The beggar pulls out a noose, puts it around the storyteller's neck, and turns him into a hare, and then turns him into a flea. Okay. The beggar goes to the king to entertain in the royal family. And he provides some pretty interesting entertainment. And he produces a glowing ball, which the young prince seems to be very interested in. And when he tosses the ball into the air and it disappears, the prince, being a little brat that he is, demands to know where it is. And, and when the beggar pulls out a rope out of nowhere and turns into a ladder, which the prince climbs up, only to have the ladder come back down on without him. You know, the old Indian rope ladder trick. Uh, Outraged by this, the king orders the beggar to be paid for in oil. No wait, yeah, something else too. I almost forgot. Before that happened, the beggar kind of plays a few little games with the cook, like uses 3 matchsticks and bets he can blow the middle one out without blow the middle whole matchstick away without the other two going as well. And he's very sneaky when he does this, because when the cook tries to do this, 2 of his fingers disappear. And when the beggar says he can move one ear without moving the other, and the cook says he can do the same thing, he ends up taking his own ear off. Now finally happy that he can boil with somebody for once, and in this whole story. They put the beggar in a pot of boiling oil, which turns into hot water. Er, and out of nowhere, the beggar produces the prince, and the storyteller wakes up to realize that it was all a dream. So when the hour finally comes to tell his story to the king, he admits that he could not come up with a story and tells the king exactly what happened in that entire day. So moved to tears is the king and the rest of the court. Uh, he said that it was the most amazing story that he ever heard. They loved it so much, they decided to hear it whenever they can. Now for number 6, The Heartless Giant. Again, this story is an odd one because I'm not too familiar with it. Basically, all I know is that there's a giant who doesn't have a heart in his body. And apparently it's so cruel and vicious that the king has him locked up in the dungeon, only to have his youngest son and unknowingly let him loose again. Racked with guilt, the young prince decides to go find the giant and bring him back. After his 2 older brothers and his father disappear to go find the giant. Along the way, the prince comes across a bird, a salmon, and a wolf. Oh, oh. When he reaches the giant's house, oh, the giant tries to trick him, and when he tells him where the location of his heart is by giving him false clues until finally he tells the prince on where his heart really is. His heart is in an egg, in a duck, in a well, in a church, on an island, in a lake. A really specific location. And after the young prince finally finds the giant's heart and returns with it, he tells the fruit, "I have your heart now. Now turn everyone back to normal, or I will crush your heart." The giant surrenders and turns everyone out and back to normal. So after he turns them to stone. Oh, seizing the opportunity, the prince's brothers snatch the heart from him and then get their revenge by crushing it, killing the giant. In other variations of the story, the young prince returned the heart back to the giant, and who never bothered anyone again after that. Now, for number 5, I'm just gonna flat out say what this story reminds me of. At number 5, it's Sap Sorrow, and this story reminds me a lot about Cinderella. Well, because it has this whole thing near the end, and where the prince must find in the name whose shoe fits this particular slipper. Or no, we've all heard the story. Number 4 is the Luck Child. And I've actually read the original story, and this version of the story is more interesting. And a cruel king, and here's a prophecy, is that the seventh son of the seventh son and of the seventh son, or something like that, will someday become king. And he will be called the Luck Child. Oh, outraged by this, and realizing and that there is such a child in his kingdom, unlike that, he and his chance for go to the family of this child and take him away. It was the promise of giving him a better life, whereas in reality, they try to kill the baby by throwing him off a cliff into the sea. Now, while the baby survives the fall, through some bizarre luck, the chancellor isn't so lucky as he plummets into the sea, only to be snatched up and eaten by a vicious griffin. Yes, in this version of the story, there is a man-eating griffin. While in the original story, it's different, as I'll explain later. 17 years later, the king comes across a young man who reminds him of a baby. And gives the boy a message to bring to his queen. And the message states, when you receive this letter, kill the young man who brings you this, and chop him into 1,000 pieces. Along the way, the luck child stumbles into a den of thieves and only created by a little man, and who happens to be the brother of the raving sister. And offers the luck child some food, after drugging it, of course. They attempt to try and steal what he has. Realizing that the luck child doesn't have that much on him, except for that letter, or reads it, and the little man starts to feel sorry for the boy, and forges a new letter for the queen, saying that instead of killing the luck child when he gets there, he's to marry their daughter. Sneering at the thought of his plans being a complete success, the king returns to realize that the luck child is not only alive, but is also married to his daughter. Not wanting to give up his crown so easily, the king comes up with a finished plan. Now, this is where the two versions of the story that I've heard of vary. In the original, the luck child must find a black unicorn. And in this version of the story, there's not one. And in the Storyteller version, the Black Child must return with the golden feather from the griffin, while in the original story, the Black Child must bring back 3 golden hairs from the devil. And yes, this is the Grimm brothers story. Anyway, the Black Child comes to the edge of a lake where in the middle is the island where the griffin lives. And gets a ride from a ferryman who apparently is not all that eager to see the whole sea. Feeling sorry for the ferryman, and he vows to learn the secret to releasing him from his curse. And this is the part of the episode where I found it a little humorous because as we meet the little man again, and I want to find out that the reason why he isn't being eaten by the griffin is because there's cooking. And we finally get to see the griffin in all of its monstrous form. Now, I've seen many depictions of griffins before, but this is just all silly. Like, and while when the griffin's getting its neck getting scratched, that's the little man tries to pluck out a golden feather, and every time, and he tries, the griffin and squawks and raises a fuss. And after finally getting a golden feather, and putting the griffin to sleep, he finds out a Black Child on how to free the ferryman. Apparently, the only way for the ferryman to be free is if someone were going to take his oar. The Black Child returns not only with the golden feather, but with a chest of gems that actually form on the beach of the Griffin's Island. And the king, being greedy from villains are, decides to get more riches in that way, and being impatient, he demands that the ferryman row faster. Basically, the ferryman cons him into taking his oar, where he remains for all eternity. Now for the next one. Number 3 is On My Hedgehog. This is sort of like a reverse Beauty and the Beast story, and it's a really interesting one. I recommend you watch it. Number 2 is The True Bride. Again, a really interesting one that I recommend a lot of people watch or give a read. Before I go on to my number 1, and I'll give you a couple of honorable mentions. And these two are both Greek myths. My first honorable mention is Theseus and the Minotaur. Or if you don't know what that one is, I suggest you give it a read. As well as Perseus and the Gorgon. Again, if you've seen Clash of the Titans, I think either one, you probably know the story. And number 1, and I've mentioned this in my fairy tales list, The Soldier and Death. It still almost brings me a tear. a tear to my eye every time I hear the story, especially near the end. And this old Russian tale is about a soldier returning from a war, and on his way back home, he encounters three beggars. First, one gives him um, an amazing whistle, all in exchange for a biscuit. The second gives him a deck of cards that will always be in his favor, or again for a biscuit. And the third man, and for the soldier's final biscuit, gives him a sack that will suck in anything that the soldier demands to get in. And after they're taking refuge in an abandoned castle, the soldier is greeted by an army of devils who, who offer him 40 barrels of gold if he can beat them in a card game, which he does. When they try to jump on him, he demands that all of them get into his sack, which they all do. It's funny, it's kind of like Morocco's wind tunnel. All went away. And after basically assaulting the devil, both while they're in the sack, he sends them retreating back to hell, all except for one, which he orders to be his servant, and to keep, if the devil's word, to keep its cloven hoof, as like a souvenir. Years later, or when the soldier becomes the son-in-law to the Tsar, and his son becomes gravely ill, the soldier calls upon his devil to find out what's wrong with his son, or to see if he's dying. The devil produces a magic glass that allows the soldier to see death itself. Now, there are many depictions of the Grim Reaper, the most common being a skeleton, but in this version of the story, it's interesting. It's a small, humanoid creature, or almost skeletal, in appearance with large blue eyes. And I know I'm going to get this one wrong somehow. In the story, it said that death is at the foot of the bed, and they will live. But if death is at the head of the bed, then they will die. Seeing as death is at the foot of the bed, and the soldier decides to sprinkle water from the glass onto his son, who miraculously recovers almost instantly, and the soldier becomes a legend in his town on healing those who have death at their feet. And whenever death would be by their headboard, he would say, "There's nothing more I can do." That is until the Tsar falls gravely ill, and the soldier sees death sitting in his headboard. The soldier are pleased with death, but to spare his father-in-law and to take him instead. Death agrees to this, and they are spared. Not too soon after, the soldier becomes gravely ill. When death finally appears, there's the soldier sucks him up in the sack and, leaves the sack tied to the highest branch of the tree, of the highest tree you can find. And, and for a good while, everything was perfect. Nobody died. Nothing died. It is until the soldier realizes that maybe that wasn't such a good idea. And he sees people who are waiting for death and are unfortunately never going to get that chance. After releasing Death from the sack, uh, the Grim Reaper flees in fear of being captured in the sack again. And the soldier is left alone for a very long time. So long, in fact, that he's pretty much immortal at this point. And the soldier goes down to hell. Oh, where he encounters the very same devils he imprisoned, who, for reasonably enough, fear of being sucked up into the sack again, and only to be threatened by the soldier, or to give them a map to heaven, as well as 200 souls. Well, after saving 200 souls from hell, the soldier is stopped at the gate of heaven. And while the souls enter the gate, gives one of them the sack that tells him, once you reach the other side of the gate, summon me into the sack, and I will finally be at peace. But seeing as there is no such things as memories in heaven, the soldier is cursed to walk the earth, and is said to still be out there unto this very day. Now, this story was very heartbreaking when I first heard it, because, yeah, he kind of deserved of this punishment from death, being as he kept death as prisoner. But on the other hand, if you're waiting to die, and you're that old, wouldn't death just cut you a break and let bygones be bygones? And what makes it even more heartbreaking is the soldier's whistling near the end of the story, where as he walks back towards Earth. This is actually one of my favorite episodes because it's got some good humor in it, and it's got some good build up. It's just at the end, still was like it's mean spirited towards the soldier who basically gave up everything. And did everything he could and to finally be able to die. Couldn't get into hell, couldn't get into heaven. He's stuck in limbo. Neither heaven nor hell, cursed to roam the earth for the rest of eternity. All because he took the Grim Reaper. And so that's my list of the top 10 episodes of Storyteller. Now, I want to post a challenge to all of my subscribers and viewers. If I can get 100 views on this video, or at least 100 likes, for my Steve Sings Blues review, I might do something special involving another type of mythology. For Halloween. But that's just wishful thinking. Anyway, this is Dino981 saying, leave a comment, in the comment section below, or punch that like button, get subscribed to my channel, if you haven't already, and I will see you all next time. Later.